We are live now with this public VCTC commission meeting.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm calling this meeting to order, and this is 9/11, so the Pledge of Allegiance this morning will have a special meeting. So please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing so we can bow our heads and remember the lives lost on 9/11, 19 years ago. Thank you very much. Hard to believe it's been 19 years. The country has changed since and continues to change. Not sure if it's for the better. So with that said, we will now take roll call, please.
Chair Bill de la Peña,
Present.
Commissioner Bennett, Commissioner Berg,
Here.
Commissioner Belinsky, Commissioner Crosswhite,
Here.
Commissioner Edmonds, Commissioner Haney,
Here.
Commissioner Heitman,
Here.
Vice Chair Huber,
Here.
Commissioner Humphrey,
Here.
Commissioner Long,
Here.
Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Commissioner Judge,
Here.
Commissioner Parks, Commissioner Simons,
Present.
Commissioner Tremblay,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Zaragoza.
Here.
That is everyone. Thank you very much. Miss Ibarra, do we have any public comments?
We do not have any public comments at this time, Commissioner or Chair Bill de la Peña.
Thank you. And normally we would now receive the Caltrans report, but it does not appear that Mr. Belinsky is present, correct? Not yet, at least.
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Belinsky may be in the attendee portion of the, and unfortunately, Roxana, I don't have co-host capability at the moment.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me check my attendee list.
I did see Mr. Belinsky's name in the attendee.
Okay, yeah, he is on the attendee. I'm promoting him right now.
And Madam Clerk, can you make sure I have co-host capability?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Chair, I do see Mr. Belinsky there. John, can you, we see your name, we don't see you in person. Oh, there we go.
There I am.
There you are.
Live and in
Okay,
person.
my apologies.
Belinsky.
My apologies. I signed up with the wrong address, so came in as an attendee. So
Well,
thank
hey,
you.
John, let that be the last time this happens to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. We're actually on item number 5, which is the Caltrans report.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update from Caltrans. I have provided our standard maps that we provide to the commission, and those go over some projects. I want to just talk briefly about a couple of other things first. Obviously, we are in the fire season. We do have a fire in Southern California that is continuing to expand, very little containment, causing obviously a lot of smoke and issues. There's fires across the entire state that are expanding at a rapid rate, and a lot of our resources are being shifted to help to address those particular situations. Fortunately, we only have the one in District 7 at this point in time, knock on wood, and we hope it remains at the same in the coming months as we continue into the fire season. There's also the public service power shutdown that could potentially have an impact on many of our communities, and all of you are certainly familiar and aware of those particular potential shutdowns. We currently do not have any in District 7, but we are on alert in the event that that does take place, so that we can address any issues related to that. Primarily, the impact would be to our signal systems, and we have made modifications to many of our systems to allow us to have backup power, as well as many of those signal heads have the reflective materials on the back plates. What I would like to do is just mention a couple of projects that are on the list, and I'll just go through a couple of them. Hopefully you have the maps in front of you. So the first one, project number 6 on page 1 of the design list. This is a 4-mile pavement rehabilitation project on US 101. This is a SB1 funded project and has a total cost of $52 million. This will include the replacement of the outer lanes of pavement and a number of slab replacements for the inner lanes. So this is concrete work that will take place. One issue that we are having, we are experiencing with a number of our contractors currently is a shortage of cement. So it is impacting to a minor degree at this point, and I don't anticipate this being a significant issue, but a cement shortage is impacting some of the contractors' ability to continue to maintain aggressive schedules like they have in the past several months. It appears to be a short-term shortage. The next project I'd like to talk about is project number 8 on that same list on page 1. This is a $64 million retaining wall project on PCH south of Point Magoo. This is the result of an emergency repair that had taken place from some storm damage in 2015. Pretty significant project. This is a CMGC. This is the reason why I want to bring it up. A CMGC, which is Construction Manager General Contract project. And this is the first of its kind in Ventura County by the department. And what that means is we actually hire a contractor in the development phase of a project to help identify risks, come up with strategies and efficiencies that can be implemented as part of the construction. It allows that contractor that we hire during the early phase to have first right of refusal, or to make the first bid on the contract, and it's a negotiated bid. If the bid is acceptable, then that contract gets awarded to that contractor. We've been successful elsewhere in the state in using that type of technique on a number of projects, and it really works well on projects that are complex and have a lot of constraints, and this would fall under that category. And then the last one I want to mention is project number 8 on page 2 of the maintenance list. And this is EA0W030. relatively straightforward maintenance overlay project, but one of the things that we are incorporating in this project is to add Class 2 bike lanes along this facility of Route 126, which is unusual for us in the maintenance program. That's generally reserved for our shop projects. So this is the first of its kind in the district where we're using maintenance funds for that type of activity. And then the last thing I do want to mention is that I have made a decision to retire at the end of October. Many of you have probably heard that already. I believe that Executive Director did share that information with many of you. And really there's three reasons for this. Number one, time. None of us really know how much time we have left. My mom just turned 94. And so hopefully I can live that long, but I would like to spend a little more time with her. I am a grandpa and I have 7 grandkids. And so I think it's time for me to be a grandpa. They all live in north part of the state, and then 3 of them are moving to Idaho. So I'd like to be able to spend some more time with them. And then finally, I think it's time that I really contribute to my local community. I have a lot of interest in some of the things that are taking place in my community, and I want to be part of that and be involved in helping shape my area. So those are some of the reasons. I will reserve some time at the next meeting, hopefully, where I can share some additional information with you on closing comments and all that related to my retirement. So with that, I will conclude my comments and I'm available for any questions.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lewinsky. Commissioner Zaragoza.
Yeah, John Bluski, I just wanted to congratulate you on your retirement. And do you live up north? Is that the area where you live? And I know my grandkids just came from Tahoe and it was smoky all the way to the 26th. So anyway, congratulations on your retirement date on behalf of the 5th District. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes, I would also, we'll have an opportunity at our next meeting to congratulate him, but I also wanted to ask a question related to Somas Road and Lewis Road. And I know that, for example, there's an environmental impact report coming out on a farm worker project, a housing project. And I was wondering if Caltrans may be responding and if there might be consideration for a protected bike lane there, because we'll have the potential of at least 1,000 residents or so moving in, and there is no bike lane on that main road.
So yes, we do comment on all projects that are adjacent to the freeway system for local developments. I'll make a note of that and find out where we are with the response to that or the comments for that.
Yeah, it's State Route 12, I believe, is what Somas and Lewis Road are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Commissioner Long.
Yes, I also have a question. In the city of Camarillo, on that same road, there is a housing complex that's going to be built. And I was wondering if Caltrans had weighed in. Lewis Road was supposed to be expanded at some time. And my understanding is you needed some of the easements on certain properties. And when I was looking at the design the other day, it didn't show the expansion of Lewis on that property. So I didn't know if Caltrans had weighed in on that one.
Director Belinsky, this is Darren. This is the route. The route in question is State Route 34. So that's the location. So just, I believe that's the same location that Commissioner Parks was asking about where the farm worker housing is going to be, and there's actually quite a bit of development
Thank you.
activity. Certainly.
Yes.
There's quite a bit of development activity in that general vicinity of some new housing on sort of both sides of the road and both sides of the tracks. And so there may be some, you may be doing some work, John, your team may be doing some work reviewing those environmental documents, but it's that general area.
Okay, so my staff would probably be doing that. So if I could, let me dig into that and find out some details, and I can provide some response, a written response over to Darren to share with the commissioners.
That would be great. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, this is Steve Bennett.
Commissioner Bennett, go ahead.
John, this is a personal congratulations. I don't know whether I'll be able to be on when we're at the appropriate time to be making retirement comments to you. And I just want to let you know how special I think it's been for our district to have you arrive with your leadership. You were early in terms of taking bike rides with us, and just there's been a real renewed sense of confidence in Caltrans and the community as a result of all of the involvement of Caltrans and stuff. So just, you brought a personal touch, and I really appreciate it. And thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Madam Chair, we've lost your audio.
My audio is...
Now you're clear.
Okay, very good. Was there anybody else who wanted to comment or ask a question? None? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Belinsky, Commissioner Belinsky. We will see you at the next meeting, but congratulations on your decision. Next, we have commissioners or executive directors report, and Mr. Mr. Kettle.
I'll answer to both. So just a couple things, commissioners. First and foremost, I want you to be aware that our 101 Connected Communities draft plan is out for public review. You can find it on our website. The 101 Connected Communities looks beyond the highway itself, but actually at all modes of transportation. The project is being led by Amanda Fagan and Caitlin Brooks on our staff. So I encourage you to take a look at it. It is out on social media, so as you are in that world, feel free to make sure you share the link so that we can get input. Again, it reaches beyond the highway itself. It actually extends 3 miles in either direction of the 101 corridor. So it's far more than just about a highway. Secondly, I wanted just to give you a quick update as far as VCTC's relocation to our new offices in Camarillo. We are about a month away from that move. Roxana Ibarra, our clerk, my assistant, is helping out quite a bit in having that move take place. So our hope is that by middle part of October, we will have changed our location to 751 Daily Drive and Camarillo. Please try not to chuckle when I tell you our suite number. Our suite number is going to be 420. In any event, that's the number we were stuck with. So those are a couple of items. As you did hear the roll call, commissioners, you heard a new name. Commissioner Lynn Edmonds is taking over for now retired City Council member and Commissioner Manuel Minajares. And so we actually do have a special guest in the audience today that's just been promoted to the panel so that he can be seen and see all of you. Manuel had been with the commission on the commission for at least 7 years, I believe, on the council in Fillmore for quite some time, and of course was our chair a couple of years ago. And I think many people may or may not be aware of the fact that Manuel left the council in Fillmore and relocated his family to Commissioner Crosswhite's town. And so I just wanted to make sure that you all had a chance to, well, personally, that I had a chance to say thanks to former Commissioner Minharis, and appreciated his leadership when he served as chair. And beyond just the role as our leader, he's a good friend too. So with that, Madam Chair, if I could, just maybe Manuel, you might say a couple of comments.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, it's been an amazing, almost 8 years. I was a part of VCTC from the moment I became a council member. So it's as daunting as it was sitting on the dais in Fillmore. Imagine having also at the same time, sitting on the dais at the Camarillo City Council with all of the elected officials from all the cities and all the board of supervisors. So it's been a humbling experience. I've learned so much from all the different council members and supervisors throughout the years, and from you, Darren, and from your staff. And I've just cherished the experience. I want to just really thank everyone for being so workable. We've worked through some really difficult issues, and there's going to be quite a few that this commission goes through in the next couple of years. And I want to wish you all the best. So thanks for everything, and I'll be watching.
Madam Chair, Zaragoza.
Commissioner Minharis, thank you so much. We were not going to let you go without saying goodbye to you. So I'm glad you were able to join us this morning so we could all express our appreciation for the almost 8 years of public service, especially on Ventura County Transportation Commission. Commissioner Zaragoza?
Yes, I just want to thank Manuel for the good work that he's done for the community, Fillmore, and I've joined him in many other organizations. But my question is, how can you retire at 21? I want to thank you, Manuel.
I wish. Thank you, Supervisor.
You look at 21, and I'm the one that's, people said, when am I going to retire? So I've already retired, and I just enjoy what I'm doing. But thank you again for your excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
I think I see all of the commissioners here. I'm not sure. Are there any other comments?
I also would like to just thank Commissioner Minharis. I can't help but call you Commissioner at this point, but you were such an excellent chair, particularly. You really offered wonderful leadership to our Transportation Commission and your representation for your community. You were always steadfast in your representation, making sure you could do the best for your community. And I think as a result, you have some better, for example, bus service there, and helped us a lot in resolving train issues there and all. So thank you so much. Really great, level-headed, excellent leadership. So much appreciated. And we'll miss you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair?
Yes, actually, who was that? I saw
Commissioner Tremblay.
Long's arm or hand, and I'm sorry, who was Commissioner Tremblay and then Supervisor Long? Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Commissioner Minharis, we sometimes have an expression on Camarillo City Council when someone has already articulated what we wanted to say of just simply saying ditto. So I would say ditto to Supervisor Parks's very well said comments, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Councilmember.
And thank you for everything you've done, Manny. As you know, many of you know, Manny and I work every day together and really do appreciate him being on my staff as well. And want to reassure everybody that we are not losing him. We will get him in a certain way. So I'm very excited about that. And then also, John, I just wanted to say thank you for your dedication with Caltrans. And I'm just very excited for your next chapter. Along with Manny, your next chapter is going to be amazing, I know. So just thank you for your dedication and your service for our community, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner White.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to say thank you, Manny, for the times we used to run together 8-10 years ago. I don't know if anybody knew that, but I met him quite a while ago when I was working for a nonprofit, and just really enjoyed meeting him. Of course, he was a little bit faster than me, but I was a lot wiser than he was. So Thank you very
That's
much,
for sure.
Manny, for running with me and for sticking with Ventura Transportation Commission and all the things you've done. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jim.
Great.
Hi, this is Bob Huber. I just want to say, Manny, thanks for your dedicated service. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And the final comment that I wanted to say is I really, really value your leadership and your steadfast leadership and patience when it came to Fillmore and Western. That was absolutely crucial. And that was a long time ago, but man, you really were wonderful handling all of that. So that is just one of the highlights that I remember very well. But overall, I thought you were a great chair as well. And I'm glad to hear that we're not losing you altogether. So that's great news, Commissioner Long. Okay, but congratulations.
Sure.
And we'll probably cross paths again then.
Chair De La Pena, this is
Go
Steve
ahead.
Bennett.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Manny, I just want to say you were a consummate professional all along. I really enjoyed working with you. Thanks a lot for all your good service to the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor.
Comments before we move on to commissioner reports? Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Manny.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a great meeting.
And you too. And with that, we will go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Judge, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I always wanted to give a quick update on the SCAG meeting I attended on September 3rd. We were able to pass in the regional council this Connect SoCal project, which will be a pretty big deal for SCAG for the next almost 25 years. The other thing that was interesting during the Transportation Committee at SCAG was there was a presentation about a new way to calculate speeds on roads. And I'm going to try and get that presentation brought over to us so that we can hear it in the VCTC. It's a change for California, and it's going to be a big deal for our local communities. So as soon as I get that coordinated, obviously, Darren, I'll let you guys know. That's what I have to report. Thank you. Oh, and congratulations to Manny. Still there.
Thank you, Commissioner Judge. With that, we go to item number 7. Are there any additions or revisions? Mr.
Madam
Pitt?
Chair, staff does not have any additions or revisions to the agenda.
Okay, then we go to item number 8, which is the consent calendar. Any items that need to be pulled? I don't hear anything.
Madam Chair, if there's no discussion, I'd move approval.
Okay, we have
Huber, second.
and a second by Commissioner Huber. All right, and then we will take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Berg,
Yes.
Commissioner Crosswhite,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney, Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
Commissioner Heitman,
Yes.
Commissioner Humphrey, Commissioner Humphrey,
He had to leave the meeting.
oh, okay. Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Judge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Simons,
Aye.
Commissioner Tremblay,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza,
Yes.
Vice Chair Huber,
Yes.
Chair Bill de la Peña.
Yes,
Thank you.
so that passes unanimously. We now go to item number 9, which is going to be presented by Peter DeHaan.
Peter's just been promoted in as panelist, so give him a second to go live. And
Does that come with a pay raise? I got a promotion.
Yeah, I know. We just give him another title is how it works. Okay, Peter, it's all yours.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So item number 9 is approval of the program of projects for fiscal year 2021. Each year, the commission approves a program of projects for all projects to receive funding from the Federal Transit Administration. VCTC's policy is to distribute the funds based on what each transit system generates in the federal formula. So the transit operators provide the projects for the amount of funds that they're scheduled to receive. A significant difference in this year's POP is that it includes the funds from the CARES Act. So you approved that distribution of money at your May meeting, but we are required to include that money in the POP as well, and so it's included in what you're approving. So staff recommends approval of the program of projects found on pages 109 through 111 of your agenda. Transcom approved the POP at its meeting on August the 13th. This is a public hearing. The published notice provided instructions for, per the current guidelines, for comments to be entered ahead of time to be read into the public record, and no comments were received by the published deadline.
With that, are there any questions before I close the public hearing on item number 9? No questions? Okay. Then I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
So moved, Zaragoza.
Second, Huber.
Second by Commissioner Huber. We will take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bennett?
Yeah, yes, and I'm going to have to. I won't be able to unmute on the next thing here, but yes.
Okay. Commissioner Berg?
Yes.
Commissioner Crosswhite?
Yes.
Commissioner Haney?
Yes.
Commissioner Heitman?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Judge?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Simons?
Aye.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza?
Yes.
Vice Chair Huber?
Yes.
Chair Bill de la Peña?
Yes, and that passes unanimously. We now go to item number 10, which is the agreement for the Freeway Service Patrol. And that will be presented, I believe, by 2 staff members, Amanda Fagan and Andrew Kent.
That is correct, Madam Chair. We have video of Andrew Kent. And we're waiting on Ms. Fagan to go live with video.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I have a quick presentation on item number 10. I'm pleased to announce that the FSP Proposal Evaluation Committee has made a recommendation to the SAFE Board for a tow truck contractor to be awarded the contracts for the 3 planned Freeway Service Patrol beats. Advance this. In November of 2019, the SAFE Board directed staff to apply for Freeway Service Patrol funding and adopted a resolution to provide 25% matching funds. In June of 2020, the SAFE Board approved the release of a request for proposals for the 3 Freeway Service Patrol beats on the highways in Ventura County. And in August, we received 1 proposal for beat number 1, 2 proposals for beat number 2, and 1 proposal for beat number 3. Pending Commission approval, we plan to begin FSP operations in December of this year. Just to give a quick overview of the program, Ventura County will be the 24th county to provide FSP service, and so we're excited to be catching up with the rest of the state. FSP is provided as a partnership between Caltrans, the Highway Patrol, and the local SAFE. And the program consists of a fleet of continuously roving tow trucks patrolling congested freeway segments during peak traffic, morning and afternoon periods. And the types of services they provide would be to assist motorists remove debris from the roadway and to tow disabled vehicles off of the highway. The goal being to reduce congestion on the highways and the potential for secondary accidents. The types of assists include providing jump starts, providing a gallon of gasoline, refilling radiators, changing tires, and the drivers are allowed 10 minutes per assist, and if they can't get a vehicle restarted within that 10-minute window, they're directed to tow the vehicle off of the highway. All these services are provided at no charge at the point of service. This map shows the 3 beats for which the RFP for tow contractor services was issued. The award results in 3 separate contracts, one for each of the beats shown. Beat number 1 is on the 101 from the Ventura County, Los Angeles County line to Camarillo Springs Road. And then beat 2 continues on the 101 from Camarillo Springs Road to Central Avenue, approximately through the city of Camarillo. And beat number 3 is for the 118 from the Ventura County, Los Angeles County line, starting at Rocky Peak Road, and then terminates at the SR 23 junction. Each of these beats will operate with 2 patrolling tow trucks, Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. and from 3 to 7 p.m. Prior to the release of the RFP, staff conducted outreach to potential tow vendors to make them aware of the FSP program and the RFP. Staff gathered information from law enforcement as well as doing online research, and we came up with a list of 45 potential tow vendors locally in the county. And we also received feedback from several vendors that we should release the RFP sooner rather than later in spite of COVID conditions. We mailed postcards to these vendors informing them of the RFP, as well as placed a notice in the Star. A pre-proposal conference was held in June, and we also posted the pre-proposal conference and slides, as well as the RFP and standard operating procedures on our website. VCTC received 1 proposal in response to the RFP for beats number 1 and beat 3, both from Platinum Tow and Transport. Staff conducted an analysis of the pricing for these 2 beats and determined that it was fair and reasonable. Platinum Tow and Transport is also a reputable tow operator that has extensive FSP experience working with the LA Metro Freeway Service Patrol program. And they also have 3 tow yards in Ventura County, all along the 101. Given the price proposal and their experience, the evaluation committee is recommending awarding a contract to Platinum Tow and Transport for beats number 1 and beat 3. For the second beat, which is on the 101 in the Camarillo area, 2 firms submitted proposals, and although both were very well thought out and they both had extensive law enforcement experience, based on the written proposals as well as site visits, Platinum Tow and Transport was ranked first in qualifications, staffing, and work plan. They clearly demonstrated a thorough understanding of the scope of work and demonstrated excellent managerial experience and had a real focus on customer service. In addition, their average rate was 20% lower than the competing proposal. And so the committee is also recommending awarding to Platinum Tow and Transport the contract for beat number 2. The recommended contractor has reviewed and executed the standard FSP contract for all 3 beats. And as I said earlier, pending commission approval, contract execution service will commence Monday, December 14th, 2020. Although due to the pandemic, there is a possibility of manufacturing challenges that could be beyond the contractor's control, and that could cause a delay with the delivery of new tow trucks for the program and might push service back to sometime in early 2021. Staff is recommending the Safe Board approve the contract award to Platinum Tow and Transport for beats 1, 2, and 3. And we are available if you have any questions. Thank you.
So much, Mr. Kent. I appreciate it. Are there any questions regarding this contract?
Yes.
And that would be Commissioner Simons.
Yes. A couple questions. The designations on the trucks, is it similar to that logo right there, or I mean, I'd be a little suspicious of a tow truck driver just pulling over to help me if I can't identify who they are and feel safe about it and don't understand the marketing of it. So that's question number one. And question number two is, when they tow, where do they tow it to? They tow it to a tow yard, and I got to spend $300 to get my car back.
So first of all, yes, this is our logo that will grace the side of all of the tow trucks. But we're also planning on having the VCTC logo on the trucks as well. Normally, also the drivers hand out informational pamphlets to drivers that they come across in disabled vehicles to inform people about the program. I believe that FSP programs are not doing that right now, trying to minimize contact between the drivers and the tow operators. As for the second question, the tow trucks will not tow a vehicle to a tow yard. Instead, they tow to a pre-designated drop-off point that has been designated by the Highway Patrol. And right now, the drop-off points that we're using, that we've been looking at, are the Caltrans park and ride lots that are along the 101 and the 118 near off-ramps and on-ramps.
Okay, so if they get dropped off there, I'm assuming that they're gonna, call it a tow company to tow them to another facility? Is that what the objective is? Or will these people offer them a rate to tow them to the next location? Do they take credit cards? I mean, I'm just walking through the process here with you.
No, they're not allowed to offer them to tow them to any other location other than a pre-designated drop-off point. They would need to take charge of their own vehicle at that point. And really the purpose of the program is to reduce congestion. We want to get the vehicles off of the highway, and we want to get our trucks back onto the highway as quickly as possible.
And then I guess my follow-up question, is there an app a driver who's on the side of the road can request service to get them off the freeway?
I'm not aware of that app. The Highway Patrol can be contacted, and the trucks will be plugged into the CHP's dispatch.
Well, so the VCTC, we have an app, and we're gonna have our logo on there. Is it something you want to consider to push a button and locate these people? Is that something we can look at?
That is something we can definitely look at.
Those are all my questions. Thank you very much for your answers.
Madam Chair, I have a couple questions, if I may.
I was wondering if we could get out of the share screen so that I can see
Done.
everything again. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All right, no problem. Go ahead, Commissioner.
My question is, I'm hearing that some tow companies, when they are towing vehicles, are not allowing the owners of the vehicle to ride in the truck due to the pandemic. So I'm curious, is that going to be an issue for us if we tow a vehicle off the freeway? Are we going to be able to take the driver with it, or are they going to have to get other transportation services, or what? How's that going to work?
Right now, they will be able to take a driver into the truck. And actually, our trucks that we ordered or that we asked for in the RFP are a bit larger than the standard FSP truck. They are supposed to have room for 5 people. And so that does create a little bit of extra space.
Madam Chair, can I ask a little bit? Is that they can sit in the back seat with a mask on? And I took a lift the other day from my auto dealer to my office, and they're required to sit in the back with a mask. So I'm just wondering if our pickups or our trucks are going to have 2 seats, one in the back, one in the front. You know, just something to think about.
Yeah. The trucks will be able to fit five people. So there's a back row of seating,
right,
where a driver could, or a motorist could ride in the back and have a little bit of extra space from the driver.
With a mask.
Drivers are carrying masks and sanitizer.
They do, yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner McDonald, did you get all of your questions answered?
I did, thank you.
And I see that our new commissioner joined us, Commissioner Lynn Edmonds. Welcome. Very good. So this is
I have
item number 10. Are there any?
Yeah,
Mrs.
I have a question.
Commissioner Crosswhite.
So what I'm first is a statement. So what I'm hearing, if I understand right, is that all of these trucks have to be ordered separate because they're different than the other 72 trucks that this company already owns. I guess that's ending up being a question. Am I understanding that correctly first?
Yes, Commissioner. All of the trucks will be ordered new. That's standard for the program. That's the first thing that any operator would do, even if they had trucks available. We would want them to order new trucks for the program. Also,
okay, and so then okay. No, you can finish.
Oh, I was just going to say the configuration of tow trucks for the Freeway Service Patrol program is different from what you normally see on a wrecker, and so it has a lot more additional equipment that's in the RFP and the SOPs.
Okay, and then my other question was, do we have any deadline for spending these funds? Is there a point after which, like because since we don't know how long it's going to take to get the trucks, is there a time after which we've pushed it too far, or do we have until we spend the funds?
I don't believe that's an issue. I don't know if Michelle, our consultant, is on the line. She might be able to speak better to that.
I don't see, Darren, is she here?
Oh, she just popped up.
Okay. Then we'll have her answer the question.
Oh, can you hear me?
Michelle, yes.
Oh, hi. No, there is no deadline. Once the funds are allocated by the state and the application is approved, there is no firm deadline on when you have to expend the funds by. So as long as Caltrans sees progress, then VCTC's okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Haney.
Just to follow up on that last question. So does the funding start when the trucks are available, or does the funding start on that date? So in other words, are we going to be paying for a service that we're not receiving because of the inability of the contractor to provide the service due to lack of trucks?
Andrew, do you want me to respond?
Yeah, I think you could also speak better to that question.
Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, VCTC will not be paying the contractor their hourly rate until they start service. So there's no payment to the contractor. Secondly, once VCTC enters into an agreement with Caltrans, you have those funds. So the funds are per the fiscal year. So your allocation is for fiscal year 2021. Does that answer your question?
Well, to a degree. Like, in other words, we said we had a start date of, let's say, January 2021. Am I correct?
We're looking at December 14th, 2020.
Okay. So the trucks aren't available until February of 2021. The service doesn't start until March of 2021. So we've lost 3 years of funding, or 3 months of funding. is that extend the contract for 3 months into 2022, 2023?
I see what you're
Or
saying.
have we just lost 3 months of service?
No. The funding is for the entire fiscal year, whether you start the service on the last day of the fiscal year or the first day of the fiscal year. So the funds will remain available and VCTC can draw down on them. I think the contracts are for 3 years for the funding, I believe, but I'm not real certain of that. But as long as VCTC is showing progress and you've awarded the contracts and the trucks are on order, Caltrans is good with that.
Okay.
Very good. That was a good question. Okay, so any other questions or comments regarding item number 10? I don't see any. Then in that case, we can probably move to a discussion and or motion. Oh, we already had that kind of a discussion.
So moved, Zaragoza.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner.
Second, Wilbur.
And
Is there supposed to be public comment on this or not?
I don't think we have any comments.
Oh,
okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's not required.
Thank
It's
you.
not a public hearing.
We had a second by Commissioner White, was it?
I think it was Bob.
Okay. Very good. Then we will take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bennett? Commissioner Berg?
Yes.
Commissioner Crosswhite?
Yes.
Commissioner Edmonds?
Yes.
Commissioner Haney?
Yes.
Commissioner Heitman?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Judge?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Simons?
Aye.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza?
Yes.
Vice Chair Huber?
Yes.
Chair Bill de la Peña?
Yes, and that is approved unanimously. We now move on to item number 11. That is our legislative update and the positions. And this one will be presented by Darren Peshka. Welcome.
So, Madam Chair, if I could.
Oh, the other Darren, okay.
No, it's going to be the other Darren. And not to get into a Bob Newhart show, but what is it? My other brother Daryl, or however that line used to go. Some people recall those days. There are others on this phone call that may not. In any event, please, I have introduced you all via email to Darren Peshka, our new Government and Community Relations Manager. She's been with us now for about 3 weeks or so. And again, you all are aware of her history from the email I sent, but as you'll recall, this is a public meeting. We do have an audience. So just by way of another quick introduction, Darren joins us after being with the Ventura County Star for 18 years, serving in a variety of capacities, most recently as news director, which was the top position at the Ventura County Star. She served in editorial roles for a number of different sections. She handled business for a while. She did the community. She served as community editor, and she actually did some really great work. You may recall the series called Price of Paradise, where she was the lead on the development of that series. Darren has a degree in journalism from the University of Kansas. But she also more recently received her master's in public policy and administration. And so with that, I'm going to ask Darren just to do a real brief comments on this agenda item to give you a little bit of an update, and she and I may tag team if there are any questions from commissioners. So with that, Darren, it's all yours.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning, commissioners. I'm thrilled to be here with you today, and I'm really excited to be part of the Ventura County Transportation Commission. I have a brief update this morning on some legislative action at state and federal levels. As you know, the California legislature wrapped up its session on August 31st.
Because of the coronavirus pandemic and the emergency, the legislative committees limited the number of bills being considered. So the vast majority of bills that were introduced earlier this year did not move. However, there were a few pieces of legislation that were approved towards the end of the session that, combined with some of the action earlier in the year, will provide some relief, or is expected to provide some relief. One of those bills at the state level is AB 107. And that bill includes a statutory relief measure to provide temporary flexibility in the use of the State of Good Repair program funds. That bill has been sent to Governor Gavin Newsom and is awaiting a signature. There's also Senate Bill 288. This bill would add categories to the list of statutory California Environmental Quality Act exemptions, including some transit projects. That bill has also been sent to the governor for a signature. And finally, there's AB 1291, and that allows a delay of the approval of the federal statewide transportation improvement program, and that also has been sent to the governor for a signature. At the federal level, there has been no change since the last report that you heard. Earlier this year, a House Transportation Committee approved a proposal for a reauthorization of the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, which is known as the FAST Act. The FAST Act expires on September 30th, and no reauthorization has been approved yet. So recently, some industry groups have been urging Congress to approve a one-year extension of the FAST Act. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be keeping an eye on the state legislation for the governor's signature and on the any movement on the FAST Act at the federal level. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I will try my best to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Peshka. Appreciate it. Are there any questions regarding item number 11?
Yeah, I had a question on there's a note in there that says that if there's no significant federal assistance to the state by October, that there's cuts that are set to occur. Do we know if any of those would directly affect transit?
The answer is no, and that is primarily because of the CARES Act. The CARES Act funds have all been allocated and available, so even if it takes some time, we will not see an issue with that because of the CARES Act funding.
Thank you. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Commissioner White.
Oh, Madam Chair.
We have Commissioner White.
One second, Commissioner Zaragoza. Commissioner White was called on.
Okay, thank you. I was in mute.
I want to thank the staff for putting together the monthly state advocacy report. I don't think they personally do it, but for us to get this information before the meeting makes a huge difference to me, so that I have a chance to read it and understand it as much as I can, and keep from asking a lot of stupid questions. So anyway, I just want to thank the staff for having this available to us in a timely manner. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Commissioner Zaragoza?
Yes, Darren, I think I just want to welcome Darren, number one. And I think I had, Darren, the opportunity of being a judge with you. I think that's you, over at Thurgood Marshall in Oxnard, when we had the students out there make their presentations. And in fact, you and I were sitting together and we were commenting how great those kids are at making presentations. I'm sure that was you, right?
That was me. That was a fun day.
It was a fun day that we had, and it was really great. You didn't realize how smart those kids are until you actually hear them speak, and the presentations they made were just outstanding. But
really
again, Darren and the staff, I think we made a good addition to VCTC. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions on item number 11? I don't see anyone raising his or her hand. Very good. Okay, then I will look or ask for a motion.
Do you need a motion? So move.
Seconded by Commissioner Huber. We'll take a voice vote on the receive and file.
Correct.
Or a roll call vote. Should we do that?
You can do a voice vote. It's only receive and file, so you
Okay,
can do a
good.
voice vote on it. It's
So
not an
then
action.
I guess all those in favor in unison say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
I've never heard that we are allowed to do a,
I-
without doing an individual roll call because.
You're actually not taking action right now. You're just receiving.
So we don't even need the vote, huh?
Yeah, you don't actually even need the vote.
Okay, got it. Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we're just for housekeeping purposes, we'll take a vote, and that was unanimous. All right, now item number 12, and that is the release of an RFP to be presented by Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Chair Bill Della Pena, members of the commission. Good morning. It's good to be back before you after the August recess to continue this discussion that we began back at the July meeting about the state of transit, potential transit reorganization and structure in Ventura County. As we discussed at the July meeting, there was general consensus that it made sense to take another look at this, considering it had been 10 years since the commission as a whole had really entered this, this arena last time. And particularly in light of the, I think, incredible changes that are occurring, not just in the transit industry, but in all industries and in all methods of delivery of public service as a result of the pandemic and I think the resulting economic recession we're all grappling with. But the intent today, as described in the staff report before you, is staff put together an RFP, request for proposal, for your consideration that would be released and bring in a firm to really go into a much deeper level of examination of not only the product that we produced 8 years ago, the regional transit study at the time, which really is the basis of how we've been operating transit over the last 7 years. And that's, a system with 9 different transit operators in the county. Certainly some goals were achieved, with that. But like anything, I think transit is always a work in progress and always something that we are trying to improve upon with time. I will say certainly over the last few years, I'd like to think since I've been here, but before that, the transit operators have really been working together. There's been, I think, a real spirit of inclusion when it comes to these regional issues, which are very tough sometimes and not easy to tackle. So this RFP anticipates that we would look at that previous study, which was a pretty extensive study, as well as the more recent LAFCO municipal service review and its examination of transit. You have received both those documents, both through the last meeting and I think through a previous email. They're also included in the RFP as appendixes, but those would essentially be points of departure for embarking into this new study, which, among other things, will look at just how we can operate transit more effectively, again, based in the issues we're facing with the pandemic. But I think this would have been timely to look at even without the pandemic, frankly, because for those of you who've certainly been on the commission for a number of years, you know that there's a lot of challenges and a lot of issues that come up when you have cities that operate transit in some cases, special districts that operate transit like Gold Coast, and of course the commission also operates its own transit service. But really focus on looking at some key questions that I put in the staff report, and one of them is, well, the 3 of them are what level of change, if any, should occur to transit operations and structure in Ventura County. How has the impact of the pandemic affected the current and future delivery of transit, which again is something that we're not just facing, but every transit operator in the country and really the world. And what other peer communities have effectively restructured their transit operations, and how do they operate? One of the real goals moving forward on this will, again, to be as inclusive as possible with not only all the operators, but potentially the commission and a subcommittee of the commission itself, and really trying to glean as much wisdom as we can from these previous documents and efforts, and look at how we can more efficiently potentially run transit in this county, how it can be integrated, coordinated, and really be able to chance to take a look at this from a, from a very detailed vantage point, knowing that no one really has all the answers right now as we're kind of grappling really with providing public transit during the pandemic. And I will say that I think the spirit of cooperation among the transit operators right now has been very high. Initially, we had daily operation meetings of transit that VCTC was leading. Those are now weekly, and they're continuing. And again, I think the timing of this is important. And with that, I want to see if our executive director wanted to add any other comments, since he was really at the helm of the last effort to take a look at this. At the time, I was working for one of those cities, in this case, Oxnard. But it's still pretty fresh in my memory too, even though it was getting on a decade ago. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Martin and Madam Chair, Commissioners. When the Commission acted in July, the direction was given to staff and to me to come back to the Commission with a recommended approach. The recommended approach is this RFP process that generally, again, as Martin suggests, the RFP will lead to the selection of a consultant that is going to take a look at all of the items that Martin mentioned and where we are going into the future, and recognizing particularly where we are today. The intent, at least in my mind, would be that, hold on one second.
It's Commissioner Parks, I think her mic, there you
Yeah,
go.
this host business means you're kind of all powerful sometimes. So it's, you're able to go in and make an adjustment. If Commissioner Parks needs to speak and I need to unmute herself, maybe she can wave her hand. But the idea here would be is that when we come back to the Commission with, assuming the approval of the release of this RFP, that we would come back to the Commission with a consultant's agreement that that looks at all of the items that are included in the RFP and development of a scope of work. But I would also be suggesting that we, under the Commission's bylaws, we are able to form ad hoc committees of the Commission that would be set up separately to give guidance to the consultant that was selected. So we would have an ad hoc committee of the Commission. Given the nature of the various transit operations that we have in the county, we would utilize the city managers, regular city managers meeting, as well as an invitation to the Gold Coast general manager, so that we have the leaders of transit operations, staff leaders of transit operations involved in the process. We will have Transcom, which is a regular meeting group that includes all transit operators in the county, as well as all the cities that don't even operate transit, but are part of, as an example, part of Gold Coast. And then finally, and I think most importantly, to be honest, is that consultant will engage stakeholders, the people that use our system, all of our systems, and find out where we may make adjustments. And then it would be through that process that this study would be developed. I believe there are only not even a handful of commissioners that are that will recall the 2010 to 2012 process. Commissioners Bennett, maybe Zaragoza, I believe Commissioner Parks, were all part of that process at the time, and it took us a year and a half to get through that. And even with that study that took a lot of work, ultimately the Commission chose to go in a modified direction from even what the consultant study was developing. So the intent behind all of this is this is to be as inclusive as possible, take all interested parties, take into consideration, and not rush this. This is not to be a rushed discussion, because I believe it has the chance of setting us up for the next, whatever public transit is going to be in the future, and it is going to change. The way we have delivered public transit in this country and in this county is going to change. The pandemic has brought that about. Auto ownership has brought that about. There are a number of different factors, and now is the time we need to be looking at this. And as strong as Martin and Aaron Bonfilio and Claire Grasty are on our staff in transit, we do not have the bench strength to do the level of effort that I believe is going to be necessary, and that's the reason why the RFP is suggested as the appropriate course of action. So with that, Madam Chair, both myself and Mr. Erickson are available for questions.
Thank you very much to both of you. Are there any questions of, I heard somebody, let's see.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Zaragoza.
Zaragoza?
I just want to thank, staff and Martin for that report. And as Darren mentioned in the past, one of the concerns that we had, and we hear over and over again, is the continuity, especially from employees working in Camarillo and Thousand Oaks, and Moore Park, where they went, or the folks over at in Santa Paula and Fillmore and so forth, wanted to take the bus from, say, Piru to Santa Paula to Ventura to Oxnard to see the doctors, to pay bills, to work, and also on the other side going to Camarillo and Thousand Oaks and so forth to work. The transfer, there's no transfer there. That if they want to get to work to a particular city, they have to get up 4 hours before, which is really, really horrible, number one. Number two, and also one of the things that we spoke about, Darren, in the past before we had our facility in Oxnard, that potentially, I'm just throwing this out, that we have a beautiful facility there in Oxnard. It's about 15 acres. That could be the hub of that particular, I know that the consultant's going to do X, Y, and Z. I think the important thing that I like to share is that we have to have the city managers and also the city councils on board, because last time, and I still remember, we had a lot of city managers that were opposed, or they were potentially sharing what the city councils wanted, what they wanted to have their own transits within those cities, which is great. But I think having the continuity and make sure that they can transfer from, let's say somebody works in Thousand Oaks and they leave Oxnard, that person should get there maybe in no more than an hour, I would assume. I'm just kind of speaking out loud. But I think that having a consultant would kind of bring us together, and hopefully that we can have a transit system that'll serve the entire county, because we're so widespread. We're not like other cities in LA where you have one city connected to the other, and here we have miles and miles of distance between cities. So I think that consultant would be is a good idea.
Madam Chair, if I could respond very quickly to Mr. Zaragoza, Commissioner Zaragoza. What I did not mention in the nature of inclusivity is I would expect that our consultant would meet with every one of our commissioners, so that comments like Commissioner Zaragoza's could be shared with the consultant, so that everybody's voice is heard.
Right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Chair.
This is Bob. I have a comment I'd like. I strongly support looking further into the transit integration. It will have the most benefit for our riders. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Huber. We have Commissioner, was it McDonald? No?
I see Commissioner Haney. Commissioner
Haney and Commissioner Simons and Commissioner White. Okay, Commissioner Haney.
So can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if I'm muted or not.
Yes, we
okay,
can.
So first of all, I really appreciate the fact that we're looking at the conjunctive use or the conjunctive ability of all the communities to interact with one another and looking at the future of transportation in the county. I think it's something way past due. And Darren, I appreciate the leadership that you're offering in this arena. I think also we need to look at water And I also think that as a county, and we also need to look at climate. So starting out with transportation, I think is fundamental as to how we move around and interact with one another. And maybe this is the starting point that we'll be able to share and to demonstrate
Commissioner Haney, if
that
you
as
could
a
hang
county.
on. Yeah, Commissioner Parks needs to mute her microphone. Thank you.
That as a county that we can do things collectively versus independently of one another. So I think this is a great starting point. And like I said, I really, I'd raise my hand to be a volunteer on this ad hoc committee right off the get-go. Because again, I see this being a starting point of being able to fundamentally change how the county looks at a number of issues and concerns that we all have versus dealing with all of these issues and concerns independently.
Thank you, Commissioner Haney. We had Commissioner White.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very excited about this. I really feel that transportation has changed dramatically, not only with the COVID, but years before, on the number of traffic problems that are on the freeways. If you look at transit, there are, I think, 3 different things that are most important. Is the increase in bicyclists that are out there now. So not only more bicyclists using the roads, I think there are fewer vehicles on the freeway. And one commission that I sit on with VCTC is called CalVans, which is a California Van Pool Authority. Commissioner Zaragoza is my alternate. He's there if I ever need him. So I appreciate his input.
You're doing a good job, Jim.
Thank you very much. However, I want to share something with you that we have over 179,000 passengers on CalVans every year, which is a 24% increase than it was last year. So that's something else that I'm not sure a lot of people know about. And so it's important that each of us have a little input on what goes on with this new system, whatever the system is going to be. And each city has a voice. So I appreciate that we're going to individually meet with us, because I know I have different feelings, especially on bicyclists and bicycle lanes, than maybe, maybe Darren Kettle does, even though he does ride a bike in his mind. And so I appreciate that, that we all have a little bit of information on this, and that we really look into this, because transportation has changed dramatically. And I think just going on the freeways and looking at how few people are using the freeways, more and more people are working from home. So how does that affect us? So anyway, just a little bit of information that came to my head. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you're going to go to Commissioner Simons, but I also note that Commissioner Parks has her hand up. Yes.
So we're going to go to Commissioner Simons and then Parks.
Yeah. So I was a little bit taken back, and when I saw this, only because our last discussion, we talked about we would discuss what our next step would be. But with that being said, I respect and appreciate staff taking a leadership step forward and making this suggestion. So, I mean, we have to look at the future. Things are changing so quickly, and I agree that our staff, I think, would be limited if we don't go to an outside consultant. I don't know what those costs would be, but I would be more supportive of this program if, you mentioned that you meet with the other transit operators once a week. I don't know if you do it collectively or individually, but I would recommend that we ask the transit operators in a collective fashion to scrub this proposal to see what additional things you may want to add from their perspective. That would be more inclusive to me. But I think we have to, address all these items. I mean, to me, I'm a technology guy, broadband, et cetera. Everybody knows about that. So, I mean, that's also part of the future. Apps and those communication devices, social media, all those things have to be addressed of how we're going to communicate what we're doing in the future, as well as the direction technology is going to take our transportation capacities throughout the entire county. So I support the concept. I would just prefer that it's more inclusive of the operators prior to putting out the RFP. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. Commissioner Parks.
Thank you. I would like the proposal to include options for a new governance structure, because that is really the essential part of all of this. We have multiple transit agencies. And instead of studying this, which we have done incredibly, not only back before with Ventura County Transportation Commission, but also LAFCO. So we have a pretty good idea of what is out there, what exists now. What I'd like to see, so this doesn't just turn into another study, is to actually have options on moving forward. How we can get to one transit agency, I think should be one of those options, and what that governance structure would look like, because they're all public agencies. It may just mean more people at the table, so that we can have one transit agency that can connect our whole county. That seems to be the most financially efficient and the most effective for our transit riders. Yeah, I do think the information is out there. We can move forward with that, and I would like to see that included in the RFP.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, if I could just really quickly respond to Commissioner Parks. Give me 1 second here. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Parks. So in the RFP, one of the things that we're asking, we'd be asking the consultants to review is the study that was done back in the early part of that 2010 decade, where we looked at governance structures. And in fact, a couple of the two recommendations that we're moving forward was a single countywide transportation authority, somewhat along the lines of the Orange County Transportation Authority, or two transit operators in the county, similar to what's happening in San Diego, where you have two different transit districts, and then SANDAG, the San Diego Association of Governments, which was effectively the County Transportation Commission, and also an MPO, a Metropolitan Planning Organization. So those are two, and what we're going to be asking the consultant to do is go back and look at those, and that would, I believe, place those governance questions on the table for the consultant to be talking with all of you and all stakeholders about. So we purposely kept this staff report a little bit, or the RFP a little bit smaller, because we have all of those attachments that the consultants will be asked to glean from. And so that was the idea behind it.
Madam Chair, can I add just two seconds here with Darren? In fact, the last time we had this, Darren, if you recall, and I think Linda was there, and I can't remember who else, we took it all the way to LAFCO. Remember, we had we were looking at potentially an annexation type of operation, and at that time, I go back again to the city managers, that had the city managers all agreed, or the majority, probably would have had a countywide transit district. But if you remember that, Darren, we went as far as LAFCO, just for information.
And Commissioner Parks would like to weigh in again, I believe, but yes. Go ahead, Darren, and you can answer that.
No, only that this has been an ongoing study for the commission and the county for some time at various levels, as Commissioner Zaragoza said, at LAFCO. I will now let Commissioner Parks speak. Sorry.
And thank you, Commissioner Zaragoza. LAFCO did include the, I guess, Gold Coast Transit in the entire unincorporated area, I believe. But that idea of perhaps a joint powers authority where the different entities join together to provide that service, because what I'm seeing, as we're all seeing, is it's almost like a vacuum. The market is collapsing in transit, which makes it another reason why we should form one entity, because there really aren't that many patrons out there. It does make a lot of sense, and I'm glad that will be one of the options that will come back to us. So we have the choice of how to move to the next step. I just so much don't want this to be another study that is shelved. So thank you, Commissioner Chair De La Pena, for bringing this forward. I do hope we can get some good movement on this for our transit patrons and for good government. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Simons.
Yeah, you keep talking about one entity, you know, God bless you. If you're looking just for efficiencies and looking for economies, but there's other ways of doing economies and efficiencies. I don't want to be locked into that being the objective. We have to be open on this whole thing, and that's why I'm suggesting inclusive. I would really request if we could get this thing scrubbed by the existing operators, because they're going to be affected by this thing, and I think there's some input there. It's kind of like, you know, the NFL. You know, you've got a bunch of teams here. Goodell puts these things out and keeps the operation going, and we do want to become more effective, but we have to be very responsive. And each community is different. As Supervisor Parks knows, there's a very successful local trolley program in the area of Thousand Oaks, and that's locally developed program because they know the community better than necessarily somebody in Camarillo does, or a regional wide agency. And I know in Moore Park we have a new program we're going to be investigating. So there's pluses and minuses to everything. I just don't want it to be, hey, we're looking to consolidate everything, if that's not necessarily the most responsive way of going, but I'm certainly willing to look at it. Again, I request that before you put the RFP out, that you talk to the operators, get their input, and then go ahead and proceed forward. Because I'm supportive of certainly having the study done. We need to do the work, and we constantly have to be on top of this thing, because by the time the study comes out, things will have already changed again. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner Simons. Just to clarify that the cities are the operators, and the cities are, they will all be included in this. This is the purpose of the agenda item, is to actually find someone that will work with all of the cities and all of the stakeholders and all of the commissioners and so forth, in order to come up with a plan. So basically this consultant will have to herd cats. And that is what this RFP is. Someone that is able to work with everybody and work with all of their concerns and address the concerns. The operators are the city. Moore Park will be included in this. So before we can sit down and scrub all of the ideas, we have to have someone that will be a facilitator, mediator, and will be able to really work with everyone. So that is how I see it.
If I could respond to that, I mean, I understand what you're saying. When you put out an RFP, that's a parameter of which they're proceeding with. The difference of what you're saying, what I'm saying, is that there might be some additions to the RFP that might come out of that before you go to you hire your cat herder to go ahead and hurt us all. That's all I'm suggesting. It's not brain surgery. It doesn't take a lot of time. We're meeting with these people once a week. Why not get their input prior to putting the RFP out? That to me is inclusive.
Thank you. Mr. Kettle? Oh, I'm Commissioner Heitman.
There you go, yes.
Heitman.
Thank you. You know, I think it's a great idea. I'm all in favor of doing this study. I'm hoping with hiring the consultant, the consultant's going to really provide us with a vision of the future for transportation. It's hard for people to change. I think it's true that we have to get the input of certainly everyone who's involved currently, including all the different modes of transportation, but there's so much out there that's going to be new and different, and it's going to be difficult for some of our organizations or agencies to want to make those changes that are going to be necessary. So I'm really looking for a consultant who will be able to bring those new ideas and the real future to give us a vision of where we need to be going, so we don't remain stuck in where we are and trying to make that fit if it really is not going to.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Haney?
So just one final thought is I heard this, I keep hearing this, one of the impediments from the past has been city managers. And I get lost on that because city managers work for almost everyone on this board except the county supervisors. So I'm lost how a city manager could be an impediment to moving anything forward. I see the benefit of including them because of their knowledge and the fact that they deal with a lot of other agencies that we may not deal with on a day-to-day basis. But ultimately, the city council members that sit on this commission are the ones the city managers report to. So I would hope in the future the city managers would not be an impediment to moving anything forward, that they, if anything, would just be part of the advisory and providing of information. Setting that, again, I agree with what I'm hearing from most of the members, and that's that we're looking at the future of transportation. We're not looking what's behind us, we're looking what's happening today, and we're looking at what's in our future. And I really look forward to this discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Haney.
Madam Chair, I was a member of last.
Commissioner Zaragoza, if you could hang on just a second. Commissioner Crosswhite first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, I hope in looking at the future that we'll be looking to see if there's any ways that we can innovate, not just look at this is what the plan said 10 years ago, therefore this is what we should do now. The other piece is there's several times throughout both the staff report and the RFP where it's VCTC, Gold Coast, COMMI, and Thousand Oaks centric. And as a part of this commission that represents the Santa Clara Valley, I want to make sure that we don't get forgotten like we do in a lot of things that happen at a county level. And so making sure that especially disadvantaged communities and those that aren't part of that, like in the VCOG meeting yesterday, we were talking about the fact that 50% of the population lives along that corridor that's being studied on the 101. Well, that's nice for them. It's easier to integrate transit, but making sure that our folks who live out here in the Santa Clara Valley aren't forgotten. And it was hard, you know, it mentions the Valley Express in the RFP, but there wasn't anything specifically looking at the equity issues for folks in the Santa Clara Valley. So I just want to put that out there as part of this, because even though it's harder to figure out how to connect us, I really don't want us to get forgotten as we're going along in the process. And then when cuts happen, it's like, oh, well, we'll send one bus out there and then, you know, after that, figure it out. So I just needed to say that.
Thank you, Commissioner Crosswhite. I actually completely agree with you. It mentions certain operators, but not all the operators. However, all the operators are included, and perhaps we can fix that mention in the staff report that really it's going to be everybody that will be included in this. Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Moore Park being, you know, some of the, being the East County. But certainly, we will make sure that nobody is forgotten in this. That would really defeat the purpose of this study. So
let's not forget Podunk Ojai.
Correct. So, all right. Let's see. Do I see anybody else who would like to weigh in?
Madam Chair, I just want to share. I believe that a combination of Simons and Haney and Crosswhite, that's exactly what we're talking about, because like Ken says, you know, let's talk it over with those folks that provide the transit in that district. Haney, you know, we go from Wainimi all the way to Ojai, and Gold Coast Transit is working great. And Crosswise, I think one of the big things that we wanted to do at the time was make sure that we had transportation from the folks all the way from Piru, Fillmore, and Santa Paula, and not leave them out, because at the time we had a lot of students that were going to Ventura College. We had a lot of people that come to VCMC, a lot of people that come for business and so forth, and back and forth. And I think at the time, Crosswise, I think people were talking about having to wait 3-4 hours, you know, to get from point A to point B. And that's a type of connectivity that we wanted to put together at that time. We can use what I believe and what we had in the past as maybe a template. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that the consultant is going to look at all that. I just wanted to share that. And the city managers at the time, I believe, were conveying the thoughts of their particular city councils. And just going back a little bit to our 50%, 55%, when we were trying to get a tax, for transportation, that's one of the reasons we sent Darren out to every single city council. And Darren, I don't know how many presentations you made, but it was a multitude of presentations. And anyway, I think that's a basis of what we can work from. It's just an idea.
Thank you, Commissioner Zaragoza. Any other comments? Okay.
Yeah, Chair, I can't help myself, but I see, as we're having this conversation, I see this high-speed rail coming down the 126 into a hub into Ventura County or into Ventura City, and then another high-speed running up to Ojai, and another one running, that's the vision I see, is us thinking outside of the box and really looking at how we're going to move our community members safely throughout the county and expeditiously through the county. I think that should be the goal.
Thank you very much. And if there are no further questions, I will look for a motion.
I motion to approve it, Supervisor Long.
Thank you, Supervisor Long.
Supervisor Huber, second.
Well, I'd like to ask a question here.
Go ahead.
Because I want to support this, but I would like, with the approval for staff, to make some of the adjustments that were recommended here in our commission here from all the commissioners. So the way it's presented, are you approving that, or will you allow staff to have adjustments to it? That's the question I have for you.
The adjustments being
the recommendations here. I mean, we've all had input. So are we approving exactly the way it is? Or are we allowing staff to go ahead and modify to make the additions to discuss the 126 and other items to be included in there and adjust the RFP accordingly?
I would thank you, Ken, for asking about that. I would agree, based on our discussions here. I would like to see those added and not be limited. So Darren, how do you need to have this motion so that it is clarified?
Well, I think that the spirit of the RFP is there. Certainly the staff has heard the comments that have come in from commissioners. As an example, Commissioner Crosswhite, we want to make sure that communities don't feel left out. That certainly wasn't our staff's intent. As I, in my remarks, commented on the fact that the idea is this is supposed to be inclusive. And so if there are places where we've done that, we can make those tweaks to the RFP that to make sure that we've not inadvertently left a portion of the county, a region of the county out, or a community of the county out. That's a relatively easy edit for Martin to make in the RFP. I think all of the other items are generally reflected in the RFP itself. And I would, we worked very hard in developing the RFP, so you have transportation professionals here. The intent again is that this is to be inclusive and that everybody plays a role. And so that would be the only modification that I could see us making, is making sure that we didn't leave anybody out for the purposes of getting the saying all of the Ventura County needs to be part of the discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just to
So
follow
the
up.
approve. Go ahead, Martin.
I was just going to say, as Darren mentioned, we can add some language. The plan was to release the RFP on Monday. We can certainly add some amendments to include the discussion today, and also to include, for instance, the interview of all commissioners. Specifically spell that out. So that's really not a problem, I think. And I just wanted to add, I think I appreciate this discussion because it's helpful. The goal is to have as inclusive a process as possible. I have an old friend of mine who's on the school board in Santa Barbara, and she had said she makes the best decisions when she puts the interest of the students first in all her decisions. And I think we always try to put the interest of the riders, the riders, the users of public transit first. And as long as we're doing that, and reflective of all the different communities here, we're going to end up with, I think, the best product. And that's certainly what the consultant is going to be tasked with, as Darren said, focusing on all the operators in all the areas of our county.
Martin, that's well said. So I would make the motion, and hopefully Huber will second that, is to the motion to staff recommendations with the modifications we've heard today.
Huber, second the motion.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Long and seconded by Commissioner Huber. We will take a voice vote, roll call vote, I should say.
This one would require a roll call vote.
Yeah, a roll call vote. No? Yes, it does.
Correct.
Commissioner Bennett? Commissioner Berg?
Yes.
Commissioner Crosswhite?
Yes.
Commissioner Edmonds? Commissioner Haney?
Yes.
Commissioner Heitman?
Yes.
Commissioner Huber?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Judge?
Yes.
Commissioner Park?
Yes, and I appreciate putting in options so it's not just a study.
Commissioner Simons?
Yes.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Zaragoza?
Yes.
Vice Chair Huber?
Yes.
Chair Bill de la Peña?
Yes. And that is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, for voting in the affirmative on item number 12. We will now actually go to a closed session, I believe, but before that, we should probably go. Okay, I lost my place on the agenda right here. My apologies. Can we do the council's report and then adjourn and then go into closed session?
That is correct. There is I do not have any report today other than we have the 2 closed session items.
Okay, very good. With that, then we will close today's hearing and we will adjourn in memory of the more than 3,000 victims who perished on this day 19 years ago.
Madam Chair, just real quickly, I'd also be remiss, and as important as this day is, tomorrow is September 12th, which is the anniversary of the Chatsworth Metrolink incident, where a number of Ventura County residents perished in that tragedy. So I don't want to minimize by any stretch September 11th, but I wanted to make note of September 12th.
Well, we can adjourn in memory of victims in both tragic incidents. I don't think we will report anything out of closed session, and so we will adjourn to October 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we will be, I think we are now going to private meeting mode. We will wait for all participants to drop out because all attendees will be removed from the discussion. So we'll be monitoring that and as they drop off to make sure that, and I think we do still have Roxana Ibarra, our clerk, on the Zoom. So Roxana, can you please close down all of attendees?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. And then I will assign Steve Mattis as the host. And
Okay. So are we off now? We're off public, right, Roxana?
we will be shortly. Give me.
And I would assume we're not recording closed session either, correct?
Yeah, no.
Right now we're still recording.
That is correct. We will work through that. In fact,